Hello. We're back on the XT for a little tiny ride, actually in my backyard. It's been a while getting I've been waiting for parts and all kinds of stuff for this bike. This is a little tiny wood trail behind my house. This is called Spider Alley, this trail. Gotta do some trail maintenance. There's some trees down, some stuff that whacks you in the face. It's a great little single track trail. Nobody's on it. It's really like my private trail. It's not long, just goes through the woods here. We'll take you down to the street. The hot ticket on this little trail is you want to stay out of that main big gully, because that can give you a effed up day. But nice Memorial Day weekend here in North Carolina. This is the main road here, but I'm not going anywhere. I usually take this way to go back home, just for some diversion. I went down a tooth on the front sprocket. Stock is 15, and I went to 14, left the rear at 45, and it lowers things a little bit, so I don't usually do much hill climbing in first gear. Second gear is usually a better gear of choice. Use momentum as your friend on a hill. That's always the hot tip. This doesn't really go anywhere. It goes down to some water towers. Here in North Carolina, we have a lot of Forest Service roads, which is nice. There's a lot of good dual sport riding around here. Wissenhut, Davenport Mountain, Iron Mountain. I'm all pretty close to North Georgia. In the Suches, Delana area has a lot of good trails. This little bike is a lot of fun. To me, it's always fun to ride a slow bike fast than a fast bike slow. There's neutral. Okay, let me turn this off. I don't know. You don't remember what it sounded like with the open pipe before. But that's the DG pipe that I just put on. Let's do a little walk around. Okay, as you know, this is a 2002 Yamaha XT225. It's the tiniest dirt bike that I've ever had. As you know, I used to have the Suzuki DR350. This is much lighter. This is almost like, you know, you want to move this bike around, you just pick it up and move it, which makes it nice. And if you're vertically challenged, if you're a shorter guy or gal, you won't have any kind of problems with height on the seat. I think it's like 31 inches, or it's pretty low. It's one of the lowest seat heights you can get for a dual sport, still having a 21 and 18 tire. What have I done to this bike? New chain sprockets, like I already said. The back tire is a Dunlop 605, which still has a lot of meat on it, so I'm leaving that go. The front, I put a new tire on because it was like a racing slick, which you would wash out. I mean, it was terrible. So that's a cheap tire. I think that's a Kendra Trackmaster. It's okay, you know, it's okay. I put a new handlebars on because they were twisted and bent. Hand guards. I didn't have a speedometer on this bike when I got this bike, so I really have no idea the mileage. I was checking on eBay, and most speedometers, even used, are about $1.50, $1.75. The new ones are over $2. I didn't want to spend that kind of money on a speedometer. But I use a speedometer just for like maintenance records and like your gas gauge. So I found this one on eBay. It's like $38. Yeah, I know it's cheap, and I know it's probably China made, and it's in kilometers, which is no big deal because I got used to riding with kilometers when I was living in Asia. So it's not too a big deal. I made a cheat sheet here for anybody else that rides my bike. They'll know that, you know, about 88 kilometers is roughly about 55 miles an hour, somewhere around there, so you have an idea. But I wanted to just have a record of the kilometers so I could do oil changes and stuff like that. What else did I have to do? The rack was already on my bike. I had to resolder a lot of stuff. A lot of the turn signals were sort of messed up, so I had to take off, you know, miles of electrical tape, and I actually soldered the joints and did it the right way. I did make myself a tool tube because, you know, the little compartment that is stock from Yamaha, you can barely put a pair of pliers in it. It's a joke. So I went and got a 3-inch PVC pipe. And the hot tip, if anybody wants a tool tube, this is like 13 inches, so I can get a full like 12-inch tire iron in there and some decent tools. You can get all that stuff at Home Depot, but as everybody knows, the price of everything has like tripled. So even that scrap piece of 3-inch PVC pipe and the caps and the hardware and all that was about $50-some, believe it or not. And just a year ago, the same thing would have probably been like, you know, $20. So if you want a tool tube, Pro Cycle still sells one that's like, you know, all ready to go. You just bolt it on for the same price as you can making it, unless you have, you know, fittings. But, you know, I didn't have 3-inch PVC fittings, so, you know, so I did the tool tube. I did the battery tender thing. I put a new battery in it. I went with lithium battery. It makes a big difference. It's a lot lighter. Like I said, I took the stock exhaust off because it didn't have the spark arrestor in it. It was just a wide open pipe. which I don't care about that if I was just using it on, you know, if I was just racing or something like that. But I don't race, but I'm just saying, on fire service roads, especially around here, they will give you citations if you don't have a spark arrestor, and they check spark arresters and they check your DOT tires. And I've seen people get warnings, and I've seen people actually get citations. So I don't want to go down that road. So I spent some money and I put the DG pipe on. I was looking for FMF, but I couldn't find one. So much is out of stock, you know what I mean? It's a huge mess right now with everything. So this was in stock. I said, yeah, okay, I want it, you know, give it to me. Put the DG pipe on. What else did I do? I think that's just about it. I put front pads on because, you know, I had both wheels off. The shoes in the back had plenty of meat on them, but I put new front brake pads on. That's all easy stuff to do. The only other major mod that I'm going to probably do is front suspension work, because all these bikes have super soft suspension. So what I've seen other videos and on forums and so on and so forth, a lot of people will take the springs out, chop about an inch off and put a spacer in, and then bump up to about 15 weight gear oil, and that stiffens things up. I might go that route first before spending like $300 and some on springs, progressive springs or whatever. But I would like those to be a little stiffer. You can get a rear shock for that too, but that's pricey. That's about like $700 and some for the rear shock, and that helps also. So yeah, that's really all the stuff that I really done. I'm not putting a big tank on because I usually have gas with me. I don't normally ride this bike to where I go riding. I usually throw it in the back of my truck, or I'll put it on my trailer, and then if I'm at an OHV area, or if I'm just going to like do some Forest Service roads, I'll throw this bike on my trailer. And there's plenty of places like in such as around two wheels or whatever that you can just, you know, leave that and you know, go from there. Because this bike, let's face it, this is not really a highway bike. Okay, yeah, it'll do 60, but I mean, you know, you put saddlebags on this and you put camping gear on this, and you know, if you're 200 pounds or something, this bike's got its tongue out. I don't care what you're saying. So you know, by the time you get somewhere, if you got to ride, you know, if it takes you an hour or 2 hours to get there, you know, you're beat up by the time you get there. So I'll just throw it on the trailer. It's so much easier. And then that way I can have extra tools. I can have whatever I want. If I'm camping or whatever, it makes it much easier. So I'll shut up, and then we'll go back down the mountain here. It's almost supper time. So yeah, this is what I've done so far. This is a fun little bike. You know, it's not a KTM, it's not a Husqvarna. I'm not trying to make it one. But if you're new to dual sporting, or even if you're a new rider, period, these make excellent bikes to learn on, because they're so forgiving and they're so light. You're not going to get into too much trouble, you know. If you go crazy on a 450 dual sport, you can get into some trouble. You're not going to get into any trouble on this tiny bike. And it's so much fun that you could say, oh, well, I'll outgrow it. Well, you might outgrow it. You may want a little more horsepower or whatever. But I will always keep this. I've had all kinds of other bikes before. You know, I've had a couple DRs. I've had a Honda CRF, Versys. I had another Yamaha. I had a WR250R, which is a great bike, but it was a little too tall for me to really feel comfortable. I mean, it was an excellent bike. Don't get me wrong. I'm not bashing on them. Far superior suspension, far superior in a lot of things versus this little bike. But for the kind of riding that I do now, I really like this little bike. And if you can pick one up cheap, you know, parts are cheap. It's a lot of fun. So we're back at the roost. So that's it for now. So we'll catch you probably on some Forest Service roads real soon. Ride safe, be safe, have fun.